The scarcity of skilled labor. Sounds like an essay that was written probably about 50 years ago by some PhD in economics, but I digress. Today, we're going to talk about why it is so difficult to find or to get any sort of skilled labor task done, especially in the context of automotive restoration. Now, I've never considered my shop to be a restoration shop. I've always considered it to be a repair shop where we actually do our best to fix everything. Restoration work is a lot like, I would say it's a lot like building a house from a ground up, whereas a handyman is somebody who fixes the existing house. Sometimes even if it involves replacing an entire wall or a whole floor. So I'd like to think that I'm, to use an analogy, more of a highly skilled handyman than a home builder. Anyway, let's talk a little bit about this interesting topic. So I was listening to this video last night about how Ford Motor Company is now having to pay their employees about $100 an hour. If you look at all the additional costs, electricity, materials, health insurance, retirement, on-the-job training, supporting staff, it costs Ford over $100 an hour to build a car. And yes, I know that Ford can spit a new F-150 out in about an hour. If you look at the average amount of time it takes for Ford to build an F-150, a basic single cab F-150, it takes them about an hour on the assembly line because the process is so highly automated. But then when you start looking at all the people involved who have to touch the car, those hours are actually quite spread out. So you end up having to pay more and more and more and more people to do it. And so the cost goes up well above and beyond $100 an hour. Whereas the Chinese cost about $9 an hour to build a car now. So why am I talking about this insane labor problem with, in the context of a classic Mercedes? Well, the idea came to me this morning that one of the reasons that I have such a hard time dealing with inflation and with the economic difficulties of the modern age is because every single car has become labor intensive. I'm not saying that all classic Mercedes are labor intensive, but the operation of resurrecting an old car, a car that has not had any adequate maintenance or has had very bad maintenance for the last 20, 30, 40 years, sometimes no maintenance, has gone from a process where you could sort of plan everything out and it would be predictable to something that is becoming more difficult and more unpredictable. Now, what are the factors that are making this so difficult and so unpredictable, and how is this making labor scarce? Well, here's the message for my customers. The reason it is making labor more scarce is because A, there are only so many people that can do this, whether it's at our shop or at other shops that do this kind of work. B, because each car requires more effort, each person who's working on the car has to expend more and more effort to fix one car, meaning that their time gets more and more and more spread out. And as something gets more and more spread out, it becomes scarcer. So the question is, how do I deal with this labor scarcity? Labor scarcity is the number one problem in my business. The second one is parts scarcity. The third, actually I'd say the second one are unpredictable needs in the car. The third one would be, parts scarcity. Labor scarcity, though, takes all different forms. It takes the form of customers saying, why can't you get my car in sooner? Well, it's because every customer's car deserves thorough, involved analysis and attention to make sure all the problems on it get resolved. Guess what happens when we don't do that? We have comebacks. Customers get very upset. As I've said in older videos, if you spend $10,000 in a car or you spend $20,000 in a car, it's all a lot of money. So you'd better shoot for the higher number so you get everything right, because the last thing you want to do is inconvenience somebody who's spending thousands of dollars in their car. It's much easier to tell a new customer either wait or go somewhere else than to tell them, hey, your car, you know, we're going to sacrifice some quality on another customer's car to get your car in. Immediately I would think to myself, what have I done to deserve that? Does that mean that quality in my car is going to get cut so that when the next interesting project with a customer that has an unlimited budget comes to the door, my car is going to get kicked out once they've made all the money? And unfortunately, that is a thing that happens. You know, a lot of shops, they'll say, okay, we've done enough on this car, we've made enough money on it. There's the key word, we've made enough money on it, let's go. Get it out of here. Get another car and we're going to make another 10K. Easy 10K. And again, we come back to our old gremlin of labor scarcity. Now, why does the automotive repair process on a 40-year-old or 50-year-old car induce such severe labor scarcity? Well, the easiest way to put it is that the first 80% doesn't take that long and that much work, but the last 20% takes twice the effort of the first 80%. Why would I say that? Well, because those last 20% items are the things that really drive the owners crazy and are the hardest things to fix. Here's a good example. 500 SEL, 1983. Belongs to a good friend of mine. The car would surge up and down at idle. A previous shop had worked on the car and advanced the distributor one tooth, which was causing the idle surge. That's not good. Unfortunately, we thought the car had an idle air valve problem, or a problem with the fuel distributor, or a problem with the warm-up regulator. Because I didn't understand that on this particular car, advancing the distributor one tooth would cause the car to run well most of the time, except it would cause this sort of up and down idle. Is it a sign of a distributor problem? Probably. Show me where I can get a distributor for a 500 SEL. They don't really exist anymore. I can't call Bosch or Mercedes and just buy one. But a problem like this, just so you guys know, we probably spent 3 days of just unbillable, grueling hours trying to figure out what was wrong with this car. If you add up all the time, was it the EGR? Was it a vacuum leak? Was it vacuum routing? Was it an idle air valve problem? Was it an electrical problem? Was it a wiring problem? What was the problem? Where is it? You know, it took so long. And then finally I noticed that there was an issue with the car's timing, because it's not easy to just connect a timing light up to one of these things and expect it to work, because it is this closed, you know, highly complex electronic ignition. Those 30 hours could have easily been used to resolve issues on another customer's car. Easily could have. And this is the real problem with labor scarcity. Some cars require more effort, and so they threaten to take the time and effort away from other cars. So in our shop, we try to live by 3 rules. All cars are equally deserving of the same amount of attention. All customers are deserving of an excellent final product, except for Tim. And then number 3, each customer has the right to come back and tell us that there is something wrong with their car if it is within a reasonable amount of time, like 1 year, maybe 1.5 years. You could say, hey, this repair you did isn't quite right. There's a leak, or there's an idle surge, or there's a misfire or something, you know, because we're always willing to go back and revise our work. And I've always believed that you put outstanding effort into something and your customers know and can see you're doing it, they're going to go easy on you when something goes wrong. I mean, if you're not going to do that, then maybe you shouldn't bring your car here. But I'm just saying, typically people go easy on you because things are going to go wrong in a 40-year-old car. There's no scenario where you're not going to have a few minor problems here and there. Even on an old 220D with manual steering and a manual transmission, you might still get a leak here or there, a shift linkage issue, or a reverse light issue, or an electric clock issue, or a whistle from the wing vent window. Something, there's always going to be something. And the problem with getting enough people to attend to these things, you have to train them. You have to make sure everybody's working to the same standard. I mean, getting employees who work in a shop to work to the same high standard is a task that you can only do so many times in a lifetime. At least for those of us who aren't necessarily innate teachers. But I know that I've trained a lot of guys over the years, and some of them have been good, some of them good for a time, some of them lose their touch. Some of them you get to a point and you say, I either need you to improve or quit, and they don't want to improve, so they got to go. Make room for someone who can improve. But the process is very slow. And this creates even more scarcity because you're trying to initiate the person in the world of Mercedes. It doesn't take a month or 2 months or 3 months. It takes years. It takes years to get this stuff, to learn it, live it, breathe it, understand it, to innately understand how the car works. It's about a 5-year process. So if any of you want to come work here and you're willing to be clueless for 5 years and then pretty damn good after that, the door is open, but it starts as a 5-year process. If somebody sticks it out and gets through all 5 years, I'm not going to judge them and say they were a failure. 4 years and 6 months, I don't know. But 5 years, I mean, that's about how long it takes to master any skill. So why am I making this video? Well, I'm making this video because a lot of customers don't realize, a lot of people who own these cars don't realize just how scarce labor is. Time is a scarce commodity anyway, especially once you have a few years under your belt. Once you're 40, 50, 60 years old, or when you have small children or a career, time becomes scarce as well. And you want to use your time for the things that you use it for. That you use it for with your family or your own self-improvement or whatever. But, I often lament the fact that I have to decide or choose between spending time with my children, my wife, and my extended family, or time at the shop. And there's been a lot of times where I go to myself, I wish my customers understood how scarce labor was. But I think we're starting to get the picture, not because of what I've said, but because of the fact that labor has become scarce everywhere. See, in some businesses, labor was not always a scarce commodity. If you are a postal worker, for example, there was a time when, you may remember, having a manageable number of mail routes. Now it's not manageable. Labor has become the scarce commodity. If you want to get work done in your home and you want a contractor, when I was a kid, there used to be plenty of honest contractors. Now, not so much. Part of my theory about this is because the internet has made it very easy for people to advertise their needs, and for people to figure out what jobs pay the most so that they can go do those jobs. Instead of saying, hey, I'm your friendly neighborhood word-of-mouth contractor who's content making a modest living, they're like, no, I found out online or wherever that contractors in this part of the state get paid better, in Miami or Aventura or whatever. Why would I want to be a contractor, in Orlando when I can make twice as much in Miami? The other thing is people can use the internet to get an infinite stream of customers. And so that's one of the unfortunate problems in my business, where our business is still kind of made on our reputation. Sure, people come to us because they see us online or on YouTube, but we like having that that reputation, you know, where people say, hey, I know a guy you can actually trust. However, because of the scarcity of labor, we really have to watch how many customers we accept. Because at some point, there just won't be enough of us to get the work done. I mean, there barely are as it is. You know, and you don't want your employees to come stressed out and overworked so they hate the job. The last thing you want is the guy doing the work to hate the work. Okay, well, I think I've ranted enough about how difficult it is to find people to do work. Thank you for watching. And just remember, anytime somebody's doing anything for you, remember that they could always be doing something else. Sometimes for more money. So always be patient and kind with people, because patience and kindness is the currency with which most people prefer to be paid. I'll see you guys in the future.